I hope there.
So there
All
you go.
right.
Outstanding. Well, if we're recording, then let's rock and roll because
Do it.
the whole intention was to get on the Doctor of Digital podcast, and that was the idea. Because with a fascinating background that you have, I just can't wait to get into some of the stuff that you've done. But the podcast is really set up for CEOs and business leaders who are looking to expand their business through social audio. So for a lot of people, that's podcasting, but there's all kinds of ways of using audio, with Alexa and other things. And looking and searching, what people are finding out is like, you realize you don't want to type all the time, right? You just want to talk because we're human beings and we talk. So what I'm really trying to show with the podcast is what you can do with social audio. So for my guest today, I got to say a little bit about Tal. So here's a little bit before we get into this. So Tal Zlotnitsky is a successful 6-time startup entrepreneur, angel investor, and founder and chief executive officer of Our.Love company. So just from the name itself, you got to dig into this. Like, what is this all about? So this is an inaugural product launching in February 14, 2022. So this is really fresh. This is hot off the press. It's a love and relationship wellness technology company that empowers maximum love, connection, and relationships through a fun and insightful digital experience based on proven science and technology. So if that's not enough to get you interested, I don't know what is. I mean, we're talking a little bit about the pandemic and like things that people are distant and what have you. But I mean, this seems like a time who has really come with something along these lines. So Tal's also done a number of things with some startups and investing based on what I said as well, too. He's also an avid and dedicated fan of the Tampa Bay Rays,
Go
Everton,
Rays.
and anyone who plays against the Yankees. But I got to tell you,
That's
Tal, I've told
right.
you about this before. I promise you, no fisticuffs, but I did grow up near New York City. It was back in the era of Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris. After that, I have no idea what went on with the Yankees, but let's not get into it. No fisticuffs, okay?
You
So
got it.
ordinarily, Tal is in
No,
Tampa.
no need to. We win every year, so it's
Okay.
okay. The Yankees are just, it's that big team New York we look at from the rearview mirror.
Well, see, what's funny about it is I got to tell you, I'll throw a little story in here as well. So I grew up, was like a Yankee fan. Well, my dad was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan.
Mm.
It's like, oh man, there's enough going with father-son issues going on anyway, but it was a little bit of that tension going on because we had the sports,
That's awesome.
rivalry. But in any case, great to have you on the show. I think there's a
Thanks for
lot
having me.
dig into, but I'd really like you to unpack this whole thing about Our.Love because this I think is really fascinating and everybody wants to make connections. So I'm with you 100% there. So tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Well, what's interesting is over the course of the last few years, there's been a real evolution in wellness, and for a lot of us, it's been about looking inward. And you've seen apps like Calm and others that are about self-reflection and becoming a better individual. And I think that's a beautiful step in the right direction for society. There is, however, I think an opportunity for couples, those who are already in committed relationships, to develop better habits and
Right?
improve their love vocabulary and be in a position to both have more awareness of their relational well-being and be more mindful about preparing for and trying to strive for the kind of relationship that most of us want to have, which is one where we are able to be ourselves and we are loved for ourselves and we are seen and we are heard, and at the same time we give the same respect and love and affection and opportunity to be seen and heard to our significant other. So the concept for this app, I think, is that technology is able to help us improve outcomes. I think the science around relational well-being is fundamentally settled, and the opportunity to blend science and technology in a way that provides a large number of people who maybe don't have access to relational well-being resources such as therapists for financial reasons or other reasons, give them the opportunity to still get the benefits of the best of relational science. So that was the foundation for forming this company. And as you mentioned, we just launched Matter of fact, 10 weeks ago, and we're doing spectacularly well. Our downloads are, since week 2, we've had an increase of a tidy 2,900% increase in downloads since week 2. And we're seeing an explosion of interest. So we're really, really excited about it.
Sure. I mean, it sounds really interesting. It's like I can't think of anybody who was not interested in making a connection or improving their relationships. And like you say, there's this whole notion of wellness and how to live better and more fulfilling lives. You know, but you're in a really interesting area too. I mean, this whole thing about relationships. Could you talk about some of the things that you've seen in terms of changes or in terms of how people have gotten together? Because there's a lot of services out there. There are people that would claim to be scientific. There are people who do matchmaking, things like that. So how do you see yourself within that market in that area?
Yeah, we've taken an altogether different approach in the sense that we are not looking to introduce people to love. We're looking to support people who are already in relationships and who want to love the one they're with. So what's really interesting is it over the past 15 or 20 years, we've all begun to accept online dating as an absolutely mainstream way to meet potential partners. I
Sure.
actually met my ex-wife online, and it was 22 years ago. And at the time, it was a source of some embarrassment to
Yeah.
meet someone online. Nowadays, it clearly is not, and that industry has grown exponentially. A half a billion people worldwide now use online dating, and it's a $5+ billion industry. At the same time, there are many, many more of us at any given point who are already in a relationship. So statistically speaking, we're familiar with the 50% of marriages end in divorce statistic. And that is actually the case. However, at any given point, about 80% of us are coupled. We may not be married, although a significant number of us, actually well over 65%, are at any given point married. It may be marriage number 2 or marriage number 3 for some of us, but we are coupled and married. And so the fact is that many, many more of us are already in
Yeah.
relationships with someone that we love. And what we are lacking are support, resources, and tools to help us improve the love that we've got and make the most of it. And that is what we chose to focus on.
I see. Yeah, yeah, very interesting because that's, the statistics. So I didn't know them offhand, but that's what it seemed like because you know that most people are somehow coupled in one way or another, right? So they've either had past relationships or in a relationship, they're looking for a relationship, but they are somehow coupled with another human being. So that really is the market, I would say.
That's right. And I want to emphasize, and you're making an excellent point, which is that at any given point, those of us who aren't coupled are often actively seeking to be coupled.
Mhm.
And our app is actually not designed to exclude people who are not coupled or people who are coupled with a partner that may be reluctant to seek help. Our app starts out as a single user experience. You can immediately invite your partner if you'd like and have a shared experience, or you could have a solo experience where you have access to all our tools and resources and information and games that are designed to help you understand what it means to be a better partner in a relationship. And frankly, as you identify skills and areas of opportunity for you to improve, you will almost certainly also identify areas where either your current partner or the partner you intend to have, you'll identify the skills and areas of interest that are most important to you. So one of the objectives in the app is not to give everyone it's not a kitchen sink, everybody gets the same experience. The beauty of the app is that as you come in, we engage with you very quickly to try to understand where you are, what you're looking for, and then give you as much information as you need at a pace of your choosing
Mhm.
to help you identify which skills you need the most work on. Now, I want to emphasize that we are not just a boring therapeutic app. This is not all about navel gazing. I'm not to knock therapy. We think it's a really important component of our app and in general. However, what we've built is what we're calling the Coupleverse. It's a virtual relational home, and it's a fun space with fun things to do, not just relational well-being, active relational well-being things. Now, at the same time, I can tell you that we're using artificial intelligence and machine learning to apply as much benefit to your relationship from anything that you're doing in the app. So if you're choosing to update your mood in the app so that your partner can see that, or you choose to enter notes of appreciation, or you choose to buy your partner a virtual gift using love coins, which is our virtual currency in the app. Any one of the things that you do in the app is used to help us identify where you are and give you some recommendations on things you can do to improve your relationship.
So if you unpack this just a little bit, because I mean, this whole thing, you just mentioned it. So it's science and technology and AI in there. And so on the one hand, you've got relationships, which is sort of like an emotional and relationship based. And then you got this sort of sciencey technology side. So how do you wed the two of those together? How does that come together?
Yeah, what a great question, Mick. It was one of the significant learnings that I had to have when I began to explore the potential for starting this company, right? I was the CEO of I Control Data, my last startup, which is backed by Goldman Sachs, and a pretty big company now. But it was in a B2B, space where I wasn't feeling that I was impacting lives as much as I'd like. I was impacting my employees and maybe my customers, but not the general public. And I was going through some difficulties in my own personal life, and I ended up getting divorced. And it occurred to me as I was going through these things that the lack of application of technology towards supporting us in our efforts to love more and better doesn't make any sense, because in fact there are lots of things that are emotional. For example, weight loss is a deeply emotional, deeply personal issue, and we've seen apps like Noom or Weight Watchers, which is now known as WW, their app, have tremendous impact on people's lives, right? We've seen apps like Calm have tremendous impact on people's lives. The fact is, we're not trying to substitute for emotion. We're trying to supplement. We're trying to help people understand things that, quite frankly, without which you're sort of out there in the wilderness. Very few people know, as an example, and I can certainly, I'm a little embarrassed to admit that coming into this experience over the last year or so, I didn't know that there were basically 7 core love skills that you needed to be aware of and be skillful in order to experience your best love. Now that I know these things, I won't be able to forget them. It's now built into me. And our objective and our hope is that as people engage with the app, they're going to begin to identify patterns in their lives that have, in many cases, undermined their ability to experience their best love. If you don't mind, I can give you one quick example and a starting point.
Yep.
Curiosity is the #1 most important love skill. And if you asked 100 people what the most important love skill would be, my bet is less than 5% of them would say it's curiosity. A lot of people would say it's appreciation and romance and maybe sex or support, whatever. Very few people would say it's curiosity, even though in fact it is curiosity that is the most important love skill. And it is where we, by the way, recommend our users who come into the app begin their experience. The reason for that is that the biggest challenge we face in our romantic lives, and in many cases actually even outside of our romantic lives, even at the workplace, is that there are going to be moments where we are facing a challenge. We are facing conflict. When those moments happen, we have a choice. And most of us, unfortunately, not having a good background in relational well-being, we're not taught that in school, go to the wrong place. So here's where we could go when we're facing a challenge. The challenge could be that someone has brought to our attention something that they think we're doing that is wrong, or we shouldn't be doing it that way, right? Or whatever the objection is.
Yep.
What most of us do is we'll go to one of 3 places. We'll either get defensive, which means we'll start to explain or rationalize our behavior. I came home and I was angry, but I had a really rough day at work, and and I was in traffic, and so we'll rationalize. Another thing that many of us do is we will attack. So we will, what about? Oh yeah, I was rude today, but what about yesterday? So we'll go to what about it. The third thing that many of us do is we'll shut down. Okay, so we'll go into a place, we'll go inward and essentially signal to our partner that no, I'm not interested in engaging with you. All 3 of these are completely self-defeating. None of these things, nobody will ever tell you that, oh yeah, I explained to my wife that I yelled because I was stuck in traffic. She said, oh, I get it. That's wonderful. Of course, I get it. You should yell at me more. Next time you're stuck in traffic, yell at me again. I mean, that doesn't happen. On the other hand, if we come into that experience from a place of curiosity, and as opposed to trying to explain our reasons, attack, or shut down, we ask our partner, tell me how you experienced me. How did that make you feel? What could I do so that you don't feel that way? We are, in effect, showing our partner that we're interested in their inner self. What is going on for you? Where do you feel it in your body? I mean, whatever the questions are, and there's lots of different ways to approach curiosity. But ultimately, from a place of, I am genuinely interested in you, and my objective is to understand my impact on you, even if it wasn't my intent to come across in a way that where I was loud, or I doesn't, at this point, let's not make it about me. Let's make it about you. That type of skill is fundamentally going to change your relationship. If you're capable of absorbing strictly that skill, nothing else in our app you even look at, but you have learned to use curiosity to your advantage, you will have a dramatically different relationship with your significant other than you do now. Now, there's lots of other skills that are wonderful and very impactful, but that's kind of the point. Most of us just don't know. Most of us just don't know. And we get the outcome that you get when you don't know, which is not that great.
Yeah. Now I find this really fascinating. So I'm going to throw a little personal side of this into this for two reasons and 2 points. What you had said is absolutely the case. People are generally meeting online, and this is the way we've now accepted this. But I'll give you an example of my parents. My parents met at 4 years old, were together their entire lives, high school sweethearts, got married right out of high school. It's the good old days. It's a fairy tale. Well, that never happens anymore. So my parents were always together. And the thing is, people would think, oh, well, you've always been around each other, and that's what is the secret of the relationship. That wasn't it. I asked my mom one time, like, how did you and dad do it? Because they were phenomenal together. And to make the story even more pressing, they were together nearly all the time. Not only their lives, but their work lives were together. They had 2 offices. They both were in the same office together. They were together 365, I mean, constantly. So I asked my mom one day, I said, Mom, what's the secret of your relationship with dad? Here's what she told me. She says, we never run out of things to talk about. I'm like, how is that even possible? But see, I think what they saw is kind of what you're saying there. They were very curious about one another. And even though they were around each other all the time, they were really interested in each other's lives. And that was the secret. I think it's that curiosity, So,
Yeah, I look, I think, I mean, I've been asked over, I've done about 50 podcasts over the last few months, and oftentimes people will, as is our tendency, will try to simplify and boil things down. Well, here's the beauty of this. Actually, it is pretty simple. The 7 words that we identify as the 7 skills are simple words. We're curiosity, support, vulnerability, accountability, appreciation, physical touch, right? These are not complex, concepts. It's how you execute and how you understand your partner's experience in each of these areas. I've said to folks that really, if you're able to master curiosity, you're a long way home. Accountability is really, really important. Frankly, it's another area where many of us simply fail to understand that we can either be happy or try to essentially convince our partner that their reality is not reality. And that's a losing battle, right? I mean, I couldn't convince you right now, Mick, that you're looking at me and I have a green head. I could tell you that I do, but your eyes are telling you that I don't. The truth is that our experience of life is what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we touch, if we're fortunate enough to have those senses. Our partner has the exact same senses, and what they see is what they see. You're not going to be able to tell them that their experience is wrong. You can simply tell them what you intended, what the impact, and accept the impact that you've had, and show appreciation. There's also the aspect of vulnerability, which many people don't understand, right? What is vulnerability? Vulnerability is being willing to share what you're afraid of. And that's a very, very uncomfortable thing for a lot of people,
sure.
especially men. And the fact is that when you're not able to share honestly what you're afraid of with the person that you love more than anyone else, or that in your relationship to be your support system, you are not your honest self. You're not the person, you're not yourself. And if you're not yourself, you're not likely to have the kind of experience that you're looking for out of your relationship. You won't feel close, you won't feel connected, because something about you is being held back from your significant other. And maybe the reason for that is that you don't trust your significant other to handle your innermost fears and anxieties with respect. And so we don't advocate starting with vulnerability. We think you start with curiosity, and you develop, you build yourself up to a place where vulnerability becomes way less scary, because you know that when you tell your partner that you're experiencing something a certain way, they're not going to try to tell you that you're crazy, or that you're not seeing it right, or that you're wrong, or here's why it is, or they're going to yell at you. No, they're going to be appreciative of the fact that you're sharing your feelings, and they're going to be curious about why you're feeling this way and how they can help you, and you're going to feel better. And what we're seeing, I mean, the early data is overwhelming. There's so much pain out there, so many people who are just beside themselves with sadness about how their relationship is not where they'd like it to be. Well, listen, you could do two things about that. You could sit on your hands and bemoan that your relationship isn't what it should be.
Yeah.
You can, bitch about your partner not doing it right. Oftentimes, that's at best a partial reflection of reality. Or get to work. Get to work. It doesn't take that much. It's not, we're not talking about hours and hours and hours. I mean, 3 to 5 minutes a day in our app will make an impact on your life, will make an impact on your relationship. Why not try it? That's kind of the mindset that we took into it. And we're excited to see that many people are taking us up on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I can see, the attraction of this and the appeal of it, because like you say, it's not really therapy, but it's something that is relationship based, that is very therapeutic. I would say that, right? And it's a therapeutic about understanding relationships, which, as you mentioned earlier, it's like nobody teaches this stuff, right? Nobody, you never
They
get.
should, but they don't. I don't know why we are not taught relational well-being and emotional. Our EQ is not nearly as good as it needs to be. There's a lot of attention in our society, about our IQ. And the truth of the matter is, people who are emotionally intelligent, substantially happier than people who are highly intellectual but not emotionally intelligent. And
Mhm.
emotional intelligence ultimately boils down to just some skills, vocabulary. I mean, how do we human beings communicate? I mean, we generally speaking communicate with words. Of course, we also communicate with sounds and with expressions, but ultimately we communicate with words. That is the most common way that we share our experiences with one another. Well, heck, if you don't know what the words are and the meaning of the words that are the core of relational well-being, why should you expect to experience it? Now, some of us, like your parents, experience it because we got lucky. We happen to meet someone who either has those skills because they grew up in one of the rare homes where they witnessed their parents, showing each other affection and respect and appreciation and accountability and support. Or more likely, you grew up in a home where you did not see that, or maybe your partner grew up in a home where you did not see that. And maybe you learned some very bad habits. The next thing you know, you're a perfectly good person, and so is your partner. But time has passed, and you are not your best selves. Day in and day out, you are not bringing the best of yourself into your relationship. I don't want to necessarily say you're bringing the worst of yourself, but whatever it is that you're bringing is less than what it could be. And consequently, your partner, not because of you, but because of their own experiences in life, are also bringing a version of themselves that's less than their best selves. Why not learn, the handful of skills? It's seven words representing seven skills that are going to change your life. It feels crazy to me, in this day and age where many of us, memorize information that is very little, really adds very little value to our lives, right? In terms of our own happiness, anyway. But don't take the time to learn the handful of skills that are going to drive such a fundamental difference in our experience of our significant other, of our relationship, and of ourselves. It feels crazy to me, and we are determined to bring this to the market in ways that people can access, regardless of whether they've got $1 million in the bank, or $1 in the bank, or minus $100 in the bank. whether they've gone to college or whether they have not gone to college, whether they grew up in this country or whether they came to this country as I did. It doesn't matter. All of us are capable of experiencing a substantial improvement in our relational well-being, and it starts with simply making a commitment to try.
And I think what's the exciting part about it is that if you are happier in your relationship, which is the most significant thing in your life, that is definitely got to spill over into other things, other relationships, your work life, your career, your finances, and everything else, because we are built, as Aristotle said, we are a political animal, which means we're a social animal. I mean, that's what we are. And if you are happy and fulfilled with that other significant person in your life, that's going to help and spill over into everything else.
I'll tell you what, especially if you're a parent, I mean, if you're raising children in a home where what they're witnessing are two people who are not being their best selves, uh, you know, if you truly love your children, this is an investment in their future, just as you may invest in their college education or activities or sport. Not investing in your relationship is failing to recognize that what your children see in your home, they will carry into their home. And so, ultimately, if your son's a great baseball player, or your daughter's an incredible mathematician, that's amazing. That's great. But if they're terrible at expressing their feelings, or they've learned that being angry or accusatory is an acceptable way to be, you are probably going to leave them a legacy of deep unhappiness that will take a lot of work to overcome. You owe it to yourself, but you also owe it to your children if you've chosen to have them. And I absolutely agree with you. I think the impact that relational health has on society is one of the most exciting things about this for me. I chose to start this company after January 6th of 2021. I was so impacted as someone that came to this country as a 12-year-old who holds this country in the level of high regard that many Americans, I think, have long forgotten about, who view the shining city on the hill not as some empty metaphor, but as what we are supposed to be and what we are in the world to so many others. To see us hating each other so much it will take arms against each other, that broke my heart, and it made me realize, man, we have lost our way. Now it was a long time coming, and it brought me to realize that maybe the last thing left that we, regardless of where we stand politically, agree upon is love. We all want to love more and better. We all want to be loved more and better. We all want to love our children as best as we can. We want to live in communities where people love each other, respect each other. Start in your home. Start in your home. It spills out. Bring it to work. You'll bring it to your neighborhood. You'll bring it to your congregation. You'll bring it to, if you're a little league parent, you'll bring it to into the community of parents there. It's an incredible legacy to carry forward. And we're all capable of being part of it. And we all need to be part of it if we want to somehow come together again in a way that we can all be proud of.
Yeah, there's no question. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? So
that's right.
Happy. We're happy because the people that we're around, and I think you made a really insightful point about the family too. It's about your children. It's a legacy. So if we are happier as people, we're going to create happy children who will then carry it on for the next generation. And, what have we got? What is our legacy? We obviously know it's our children.
Happy and skilled, right? I mean, we give our children skills all the time. We're always focused on how do we improve our daughter's SAT score, or our son's SAT score. We're very focused on giving our children the best opportunity, and oftentimes we recognize that it is about skills, and yet relational skills, for some reason, it'll be what it'll be. Well, guess what? You take that approach, you get the results that we get in our society, which is that in some states like Alabama, divorce rates are 65%. I mean, we are going in a direction where we're not going to recognize ourselves if we do at this point, 20 or 30 years from now. And I'm not here to, to make a political argument. I'm actually here to make a deeply, deeply personal argument to every one of us, which is you owe it to yourself to give yourself the best chance at happiness. Your partner and you each deserve respect, regardless of what the past has been. You know what? If you're going to stay in a relationship, you should stay in it because you believe that you and your partner deserve happiness and respect together. Otherwise, don't stay. And if you're not going to give your children the opportunity to see how relationships are done properly, be prepared for them to experience a lot of upheaval in their lives as they grow up. Just be prepared for that. If you want to avoid that, get to work. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's really awesome. You know, I'm really finding it thrilling about it, to be honest. I mean, that's the word used. It's thrilling. So now, hopefully other people are as excited about this as you and I are. How do they get in touch with you? What would you recommend? So like, what would be the next step? So if people have heard and listening, what do they do?
Well, I mean, you can go to the App Store, or either Android or iOS, and type in Our.Love, and you'll find our app, which you can download, and it's free. Obviously, we'd welcome subscriptions, but we have a lot of the vast majority of the app is now available for free, and you can get the benefits of the app immediately. You can go to our website, which is Our.Love, just www.our.love, where you can, there's a lot of resources there as well. You can reach out to me on my personal website, which is my name, talzlotnitsky.com. And I'd love to hear from you if you choose to download the app and you have some feedback, ideas, suggestions, experiences that you want to share. I assure you, we'd love to hear from you.
Right. Awesome. Thank you very much for being a guest today. It was very exciting, very interesting, and I love the combination between relationships and science and putting it all together and passing it on to the next generation. Kudos.
Thank you so much, Mick. It's such a pleasure. I appreciate that very, very much. It's an incredible and very, very talented team around me. And you know, it's the privilege of my life to be the CEO of this company. You know, ultimately, whether this will be a hugely successful commercial venture or not, time will tell. In terms of my sense of, you know, fulfillment from giving something a chance that I think, you know, has the potential to impact so many lives, there's nothing I'll ever do that's going to come even close to how fulfilling this feels. So you know, every day is a day of me feeling mission driven in ways I've, you know, in ways that I can't even describe. So it's been just an unbelievable joy and pleasure.
Outstanding.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for your time, Mick.
You bet. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. And I am